In this last video for the bridge indent layout exercise, we're going to kind of focus on trying to clip out um, uh, certain elements. For example, we did a corridor clip earlier, and when we did that, we clipped out this indent corridor, or actually we clipped out, sorry, the mainline corridor, and we used the indent corridor to do the clipping. But when we did that, the end bent corridor wasn't big enough, and we have this little piece hanging out right here. And so we're going to show you how to create a clipping corridor that will clip that out. And then we're going to add in a bridge template, and that bridge template is going to kind of go into the mainline template, and we're going to create a second clipping corridor, and it's going to clip out that bridge information. Now, the way we do it in the manual, we use clipping corridors, but you could just use a microstation shape if you felt that was easier, and a lot of people think it is easier doing that. But we're going to go ahead and show you the clipping corridor method first, and then if you need help with the microstation shape method, just give us a call here at CAD and we'll show you how to do that. So the first thing we're going to do, and if we go back to the manual here, it says, okay, to clip out the remaining piece of the mainline corridor, what we're going to do is we're going to create a clipping corridor. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy that so I don't have to type it. And it's going to be a 2D file. Actually, it's going to be called this, clipping corridors, like this here, so I'll copy that. Reference in the following, we're going to reference in the plan and the corridors file. Okay, and then once we have that those two files referenced in, we're going to use a microstation move parallel tool, and there is a microstation line right on the end bent that we can offset. We're going to offset that just up 0.01 up station, again using the microstation move copy parallel tool. And then once we offset that, we're going to extend it out so that it is wider than the actual corridor in this next step here. And then we're going to apply a feature definition to it, because what we're going to do is we're going to apply a profile to it, because we're creating a clipping corridor, and a corridor needs to have an alignment and it needs to have a profile, and so we're going to be creating a profile on that. And then once that's all done, we're going to add in the template for the clipping corridor. So it's kind of a lot of wordy stuff there, but we're going to go ahead and walk through it, and I think it'll make sense once we do that. So let's go ahead and make our clipping corridor first. So I'm going to switch back on over. We're just going to do a file new. Again, no wizard. Again, it's going to be a 2D file. So I'm just going to come in here, and I'm going to, since I know the name of it, I copied it, I'm just going to go ahead and paste it in there. And I'm going to just go ahead and create that clipping corridor file. We're going to check in the corridors file. And we have our blank file. Again, what we need to reference in the plan and the corridors file. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go to the reference dialog here. We're going to do a tools attach. We wanted the plan file, and we wanted the corridors file. So we're going to add both those in. We'll do a fit view. We're going to kind of zoom down close to where the end bent is. Again, we have a civil linear feature that goes around the entire end bent, but there's also, in the plan file, there's just a microstation element that goes from corner to corner, and we're going to offset that out. I'll go ahead and change my scale down to something smaller so the text is not so big. And so now we're going to use the, if we go to our task and we go into the main classic MoDOT, we're going to slide down to the move parallel tool. The distance that we want to offset, again in the manual, says 0.01. I'm going to make a copy of it, and I'm going to come in really close to this corner, because you could possibly select the civil element that goes all the way around, but again, we just want the microstation tool. So if you get something like that, that's not correct. So you're going to right click, and that's what you want. You want that single element right there. So we're just going to left click like that, and we're going to right click to stop, and that's our element. Now I'm going to go ahead, and the next thing it wants us to do in the manual is we just offset it right here. Now we want to extend the offset line well past the corridor limits, because if we don't, when we create our corridor, it won't clip out the entire corridor if we don't go past the entire limit. So I'm going to go back to our MicroStation tools. I'm just going to use the extend line tool. I'm going to just pick that. I'm going to just zoom out, and I'm going to make sure it goes well past the end. We need to do that on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this and go out there like that. Okay. So next in the manual, it says we need to set that line to the feature definition called design, or actually it's called safety and structures is the folder, and it's called bridge new is the feature definition, bridge new. So again, it's under design, design standards, safety and structures, bridge new. So I'm going to hit F4. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to set it into my feature definition toggle bar, and then I'll set it after the fact. So again, it's under design, design standards, safety and structures, and then there's a bridge new right there. Okay, I can toggle these off. We don't need those on. So it's in our feature definition bar. We're going to use the set tool, which is under our civil tools. I believe it's under general geometry, and it's this tool right here, set feature definition. Now when I click on that, it probably will not have the right feature definition in there. It's a bug that we reported a long time ago. They just never fixed it. And so all you got to do is go up to the feature definition bar, turn it off, and then make it active again, and then you'll get that bridge new in the set feature definition dialog. So all you got to do is come out, select the element, reset to complete, hit F4, and if you check the properties on this line, you should now have a feature definition of bridge new. Okay. Back to the manual here. It says now, once we have it set to bridge new, create a profile with a constant elevation of 400. We're going to use the profile by constant elevation tool. Okay. So to do that, we're going to come over, we're going to select our element, we're going to open up the profile model by going to view number 8, and then we have to left click in that field there. Now the tool that we want, and I'm going to zoom out because this is going to be elevation 400. It can be really pretty much any elevation. We chose 400. So I'm just going to make sure I can see 400 in here. So once I do create this, I want to be able to see it. And you can see where your alignment is. This line width is right here. So I'm just going to zoom in and make sure I'm still at elevation 400. And now we're going to go over to the vertical geometry tools. And the tool that's the constant elevation one is right here. Profile by constant elevation. Bottom row, second icon over. So the first thing we need to do is just give it an elevation. We're choosing 400. And you could give it a name if you wanted to. I'll call it proposed or whatever. And then all you got to do is locate the first element, which is the line, and then reset. And then if you do a fit view over here, didn't take. Let's do that again. We pick the tool. It's got 400 for an elevation. I'm going to give it a name called proposed. And it says locate first element. I'm going to locate it, and then I'm going to end to reset. Now I'm getting the elevation option, which I didn't get before. I'm going to accept it, and now if I do a fit view in here, there's my elevation. So that's all you need to do. We're going to go ahead and make that active, that profile. Come on. Or try to make it active. It might be active already, so I'm just going to come over and hover over here. Yep, sure is. You can see where it says active profile proposed. And so we don't have to worry about trying to make that active. Typically, when you click on this line here, there we go, you get some heads-up tools. I wasn't getting that earlier, but right, you can see that it's active because I've got the clear active profile option. So now we have an alignment and we have a profile, so now we can store a corridor based off of this element here. So let's go back to the manual, and it says here in this step here, on step 28, apply a linear template to the alignment and profile that we just created. And so one thing you need to know beforehand is we're going to locate that element. We're going to lock to the start and end. There is no sweep angle because we have no corners. We're not going to mirror. We're not going to reflect. The template that we're going to use is the clipping template, and we'll take a look at that before we apply it. And then the design stage is going to be design. If that's not there, just do a final or something. It doesn't really matter what the design stage is on this. And if you want to, you can give it a description called roadway clip. And so before we go into that and do all that, we're going to just take a quick look at that template using the create template tool. And I want to make sure everybody's in the right template library. Last time I did this, I was in the MoDOT one and I had to switch. But just make sure you're pointing to your template library that's in your data folder. And so the template that we're going to use is under the bridge one, and it's called the clipping template. And it's just a real simple template. It just starts at the start point and then goes out 50 feet, and it's just a straight line across. And again, we're just using this template to clip things out. We're not really building anything with this template. So we're going to close that down. And again, this is going to be a linear template. Again, linear templates are very similar to corridors, but they just have fewer options with them. And so we're going to go over to apply linear template. We're going to lock to start. We're going to lock to end. We don't have to worry about the sweep angle. We can turn that off. We're going to go pick our template, which is that one we just looked at. So we're going to go down to clipping template. We're going to hit OK. The design stage, we got a 1, a final. The one in the manual says design. That is an older design stage. We've updated those since this manual was created. And so all we need to do is maybe just a final is fine. If you didn't want to do final, it really doesn't matter on this one. But we're just going to go ahead and just leave it on final. So we're going to go ahead and accept the template. We're going to accept the start location, the end location, and if you want to, you can see how you can toggle it from one side to the other. We want to go up station, which is kind of to the right side, and so we're going to just left click, sweep angle, again we don't have to worry about, and the description, I called it NBent 1, but you could put in whatever you wanted for that. And if you wanted to, if you didn't want that name on there, I think you can still come in here and click on the linear template, go into the properties, and there's linear template bridge new, I think is what it was called. I don't know if you can change that or not at this stage. Let's see if we can. We're going to call it clip. Yeah, we can. Okay, so we're going to call it linear template clip, and or roadway clip if you want to call it roadway clip, because that's what it's really doing, is it's clipping out the roadway. And again, you don't need descriptions, but sometimes it's good to have it in there. And so that's all that element is there for, is to clip out that roadway. So let's go back to the manual, and in step 29 it says open the corridor. We're going to reference in the clipping corridor, and then we're going to add it as a clipping reference to the mainline corridor. And then in the dialog, after we apply the clip, we're going to go into the reference dialog and turn off the display to this clipping corridor. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to do a file open. We're going to go down to the corridors file. We're going to check in the clipping one. I made the view number 1 active. I'm going to go to my reference dialog, and I'm going to add in that clipping corridor as a reference. And I'm just going to leave my reference window up right now. But you can see in my plan view there's that big clipping corridor. And so we're going to make sure that we can see this piece here that's hanging out there that's going to disappear here in a second. So I'm going to hit F4. And I got this box here because I still have my reference dialog up. I guess I can close that down so we don't have so much clutter in here. But I'm going to find my mainline corridor, which is this one here. I'm going to come over to the 4th icon over to my corridor references, and I'm going to add in another clipping reference. And so once I do that, it says, okay, locate the first clipping reference. We're going to select that. And when I reset the complete, that little piece that's hanging out over here should disappear. And it sure does. Now, to just get this information out of the view here, we're going to turn off the reference of this clipping corridor in both the 2D and 3D. So I'm going to make sure I'm in the 2D file or 2D view right here. I'm going to go to my reference. I'm going to go to my clipping corridor file that we just created. And I'm going to turn off the display. And when I do that, all this will disappear. And then if we want to, we can go to our 3D view, find the clipping corridor, which is this here, and we can turn that off as well, and you won't see it. So now you can look at your model, and it's looking a lot better without that little piece hanging out there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add in the bridge template. Okay, so I'm going to leave it right like that. We're going to go back to the manual, and in step number 30, it says create a new 2D bridge corridor file named corridor bridges 2D, corridor bridge, the job number.dgn. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that so it makes it just that much simpler for me. And it's a 2D file, so we're just going to do a file new again, no wizard. And for the name, I'm just going to put it in right here. It is a 2D file for our seed file, and we're just going to hit OK to that. We're going to check in the corridor file. And in the manual, once we have that created, we want the plan, the corridors, and the civil geometry referenced in. So we're going to go up to the reference dialog. We're going to go do a tools attach. Again, we want the civil geometry, the corridors. Let me check the last one I wanted. Civil geometry, corridors, and plan. So we're going to get the plan in there as well. Just like that. So we're going to hit OK all of those. Close down the reference dialog. Do a fit view. Okay. So now we're going to go back to the manual. Again, it says apply. On step 31, it says apply the bridge template to the mainline horizontal linear feature. So basically what it's wanting to do is that we're going to apply a corridor, and that corridor is going to have, we're going to use the alignment mainline. The corridor name is going to be called bridge. Template's going to be called bridge. It's going to go from 72 plus 20 down to 73 plus 50. Drop interval every 25. Don't worry about transitions, and the description is going to be called bridge. So we're going to apply a bridge template to the mainline horizontal linear feature. I'm going to come in here. There's really nothing in this file, so we're going to have to create a corridor. We're going to select the linear feature. We're going to reset for the active profile. For the corridor name, we're going to call it bridge. We're going to accept it. Okay, now it's going to ask to put in a template. If you look at your heads up cursor, we're going to go ahead and pick that template by coming down here. The triple dots is not there, so really the only other way you can do it, I think, is the Alt key. Alt down. Yeah, the Alt down works, I believe. Let me cancel this again. Let me try it one more time. It's either Alt down. Yeah, Alt down. If you don't get the triple dots here and you can't reach it on your cursor, that's the trick that you need to know, is hit the Alt down key, and that will bring up the template library. And so we're not applying a roadway template, we're trying a bridge template, and we're actually going to select the bridge template. The bridge template is very simple. It's just a slab with two barriers on both sides, and we're just going to hit OK to that. And I'm looking at the start location. I want to start this at, if we look at the manual, we want to start this at 7220. So we're going to start this at 72 plus 20. And then the end location is going to be 7350. So we get in the end location here and do 73 plus 50. The drop interval, that's a little too severe. We're going to actually drop it every 25 like it asked. We're not worrying about transitions again, and we got the template. So now, since that's all set, all we have to do is come out here and accept all the values. And it puts in that bridge template. Now you can't really see it in the 2D view, but if you go into the 3D view by hitting the F6 key, you'll see your bridge right there. Now the bridge doesn't go all the way down to the indent 2. You could do that if you wanted to make it go further and do the same procedure that we're doing around indent 1. But what you can see, though, which is a little bit of a problem, but we're going to take care of it with a clipping corridor, is that the bridge goes into the roadway area here. And so we're going to kind of take care of that the same way we did with that little piece that's hanging out here. We're going to create a little corridor clipping area, and it's going to clip out that bridge area back in here. So that's no worry. I'm going to make this side a little bit brighter. It looks a little dark on this side, so I'm going to go to the display and make it bright, a little bit brighter there, so you can kind of see what's going on. All right, so let's go back to the manual again. So again, in 32 it says open once again the clipping corridor, and what we're going to do is create another clipping corridor to cut out the bridge template in the corridor in the bridge file, the bridge corridor file. So let's go ahead and open up the clipping corridor. We're going to check in the bridge corridor file. In here it says use the same bridge new civil element created in step 28. So what that means is we offset that microstation line. We set it with a feature definition called bridge new. So it's saying use that same line that we set with the bridge new feature definition. And then we're going to apply another linear template to it, but this time on the opposite side that we created earlier. So let's go ahead and try to select that line again. Now, it might be a little difficult because it's going to try to select the linear feature, but if you can go in there and just select it like that, we're going to add in another linear feature. The start and end distance, we're going to lock to the end and lock to the start. Don't worry about sweep angle. Again, we're going to use a clipping template. One final is fine. And the description, this one's going to let's look at the description they want us to use is the bridge clip. They want to use it to call bridge clip. So we're going to clip this with the bridge, or call it bridge clip. And now once you have that all set, again, you can just come out here and left click to accept everything. Now, before you accept the final, you can remember how we could go either side of that line. We're going to go to the back side of the line this time, and we're just going to left click and place another linear feature our linear template over here. And again, the sole purpose of this linear feature or linear template is to clip out that bridge template. All right, so we're going to hit F4. We're going to go back to the manual. It says open the corridor bridge file, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And this time I'm just going to go to my recent files here, corridor bridge. I'm going to check in the corridors file, or the clipping corridors file. And in the manual it says add in the clipping reference to the bridge corridor, so we're going to reference in the clipping corridor. Reference right there. I'm going to do a tools attach. We're going to add in the clipping corridor. Should see it in your, oh, I did it into the 3D. I need to do it into the 2D more so. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Actually, I'm going to remove it from the 3D because it will automatically get in there. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to detach that. I'm going to come over to the 2D view and attach it. And if you can see the two clipping corridors. And so let's go back, and it says in the reference dialog, turn off the display after you do the clipping to the clipping corridor. So we'll do that once we clip it. So again, you select the corridor that you want something to be clipped out of. So I want the bridge to be clipped out. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to go to the corridor grip. I'm going to come over to the fourth icon over. I'm going to slide down and I'm going to add in a clipping reference, which will be this second clipping reference or clipping element that we created. We're going to select it and we're going to reset the complete. And when we do that, we should see this bridge area that's going into the roadway be clipped out. So I'm going to kind of zoom into that. And I'm going to reset or right click to reset to complete. And you can see that the overlap is now gone in this area here. There used to be, you can kind of tell that there was something laying over the top of it. It's not there now. And now it says, wants us in the manual to go and turn off the display to the clipping corridors. So we're going to do that in both the 2D and 3D. So I'm going to go to the reference dialog. I'm going to find my clipping corridor right there. I'm going to turn off the display so I don't see it in my plan view anymore. I'm going to go to the 3D view here. I'm going to do the same thing for my clipping corridor and turn that off. Okay. Let's see what else is in the manual here. It says open the corridors file, and then we're going to reference in the bridge corridor. And then we'll review the project. So again, I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to the corridors file. I'm going to check in. And we're going to reference in our bridge. We can do that we can do it in the 2D and the 3D. So I'm going to go ahead and do a reference. Tools attach. We're going to select the corridor bridge. We're going to hit OK. Hit OK. We're going to close down. When you do that, you get your bridge in there. So that concludes this exercise. Now if you wanted it, there's still this little gap here. If you wanted to, you could just add in a key station that's right next, just before the barrier. In fact, let's see if we can do that ourselves here. If we look down at the end vent, that barrier is ending right at this line right here. And there's kind of a lot of stuff in here, so I'm going to try to attempt it. But first thing you need to do is get the corridor grip. For that corridor, we're going to come over to the key, the hammer, and slide down to the key, and that's a key station. And all that does is you create it basically another template drop, inside your corridor. And so it's looking for a station. Right now it's locked in, so I'm going to hit the END key, the N key, and unlock it. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to try to figure out what that station value is. And I'm just going to AccuSnap to the end of it. And when I do that, it puts in that key station. The only problem is I put it right on top of this value right here. And you'll also see that this material turned to just a plain green microstation. And we've asked Bentley about that, and they have not really given us a good answer on why that keeps happening. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to move that key station just down station just a little bit so we can close this gap here. So to do that, I'm going to hit F4. Again, I'm going to go into the corridor hammer tool, and I'm going to go into the bucket this time, because the bucket will list all your items that are in your corridor, and one of them in there is the key station. So we should only have the one that I just added should be, I believe, let me look at my plan view here. It should be right at station 7210, it looks like 52. So it's this one right here, 7210 52. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep making this value smaller. I'll say 51 until I can close this gap right here. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to change that to 51 and see what happens in the model. I'm going to tab that in. And sure enough, it closed that up. The only problem is when we attempted this again, we lost some materials, and that just happens in SS4. Bentley really doesn't have a fix for that. If you keep on working on this corridor and doing other things, manipulating things, a lot of times we see that material come right back. So it's unfortunate that they haven't figured out why that happens all the time. But so this pretty much concludes this exercise. You can kind of take a look at your end bent and how it's created. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of rotate around. I'm going to make this view active and go to my rotation tool. And I'm going to take that and just snap it somewhere, maybe on this end bent right there, and you can just kind of rotate around and look at your model. So this is just one way of modeling an end bent. There's like with a lot of things in Power GeoPak, there's many ways to do a certain function, and this is just something that we created, and hopefully you're able to do it as well. So thanks.